Welcome to the Four Seasons Podcast, brought to you by B&H Wealth Strategies, serving Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia since 1966. Here, we guide you through the ever-changing seasons of your financial journey, offering insights to help you grow, protect, and enjoy your wealth. Ready to turn your financial dreams into reality? Dare to dream. And now, here's your host, President of B&H Wealth Strategies, Jeff Bingham.
There's more to Social Security than just picking an age. Learn how to unlock its full value with a personalized strategy. Welcome back, everyone. Skip Monty, co-host / producer, back in the studio with President of B&H Wealth Strategies, Mr. Jeff Bingham. Good to see you, Jeff. How's it going?
Skip, it's going great. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing fine. Loving almost summertime. That's my time. I love spring, but I love summer even more.
Yeah, gosh, it's hard to believe that as we sit here on this date of recording anyway, we got Memorial Day coming on Monday, so that'll kind of give everybody an idea of when we drop this recording. I guess we're the 23rd here. It's hard to believe this year has flown by. As we say around here, quite often is the days are long and the years are short.
Yep, and it just keep getting shorter.
Yeah, that's an age thing.
Yep, it is. And speaking of age, big concern on a lot of folks' mind is Social Security. So, how can B&H Wealth Strategies provide guidance on Social Security optimization? It's more than just, I guess, picking a date, right?
Yeah, it is, and I think there's a lot of information out there. I guess that's the right way that I want to say that. And a lot of people will provide, water cooler counsel to folks as well, or maybe at the breakfast table for those that are retired and those that are thinking about it, they'll kind of toss those things out there. But I will tell you that it is very much an individual, or or a couple by couple, family by family kind of decision. What one person did that may or may not be the same type of situation that you have or that you should incorporate in your plan. So, I kind of want to go out there and say that it really, just like anything that we talk about here when we're talking with our clients, it is a one size fits one kind of thing. We look at it, obviously you can start drawing at age 62. You do not want to go past age 70. So somewhere between 62 and 70 is where you're going to make those decisions, right? It's going to be somewhere in between there. For example, I was born in 1960, so my full retirement age for the full benefit is age 67. If you're born in 59, it's 66 and 9 months or 10 months, whatever. So there's a scale, and some of those things can be fairly complicated as well. And when you retire during the year, so there's a lot of complication in there, which is what I don't really want to get into. So it's when you make that decision between 62 and 70 to draw Social Security. Is really let's focus on that. So how we go about doing that, and the longer you wait, the more your monthly income and the more your benefit is going to be. That's right. And then you'll hear cases made that if you wait, to 70 as an example, you live past, age 83 most of the time, somewhere in that time period. That's when you're going to draw more Social Security benefit if you live to that age and beyond. That's when you kind of get, when you really have maximized it out. But a lot of people aren't going to live to 83. So it's kind of the bird in hand. So there's a lot of stuff that goes around that as I wander through this question. The way that we do it, again, it goes back, and I think we've talked about this. I'm sure we have in a previous episode, but we talked about our Four Seasons, GPS tool, where we call it, it's your roadmap to your financial freedom. And that's where, when we have the data that's in front of us, and it's the whole picture. So you take the whole picture, not just singularly focusing on Social Security, right? So you can see where the Social Security is going to be the most. It's easy to look at that. And then people can give you all kinds of advice around that. And I can run an optimization schedule and say, well, if you wait till this age right here and you live to this age right here, you're going to get more Social Security benefit. You and your spouse are going to get more Social Security benefit if these things happen. Okay, and that's all well and good, but that is a myopic look at only your Social Security. Again, back up from that, look at your total financial plan, your total retirement plan, where your assets are, what your cash flow needs are, and then actually plug in. Let's say and if you are retired, let's 62. Well, let's start drawing it at 62 with the other assets that you have. Let's wait to full retirement and run it that way. So you can actually have an interactive experience when you sit down with us to look and see which way it not only optimizes Social Security, because that's a singular look, but what is it that optimizes your total picture, right? Your total retirement plan, if you will, to make sure that your efficiency is there, your goals are being met, that you don't run out of money before you die, you have enough as long as you do, et cetera, and if you have some legacy assets. So again, it is a one size fits one. It is not, 62, I get more at 67 than I get at 62. I get more at 70. So I'm going to wait, or I'm going to start now because I've got some mistrust. The Social Security system, which may not be around for me, during my whole retirement, because we certainly hear a lot of talk about that. So let me pause for a minute. Hopefully that there was some clarity in that right there, because it is an individual situation. It's not black and white. It's full color for you, let's say.
Gotcha. So I guess everybody's different. In other words, it's not the same solution for one size fits all.
Yeah, it's definitely not a one size fits all. It is a one size fits one. There's no question about it. Like I said, where we have just an incredibly powerful tool that we refer to as our Four Seasons, GPS roadmap, which is where we build your financial freedom plan or your financial success plan or your retirement plan, however you want to phrase that. But it's, and Social Security is part of that, right? But you've got maybe you have a pension, you've got IRA assets, you've got cash savings, you've got a number of things. How do you plug all of that in? And you need $5,000 a month, or whatever your number is on a monthly basis that you need to have coming in. And so you need to obviously make sure that you protect that purchasing power. That number can go up as inflation continues to rise, and it erodes your purchasing powers of the dollars. In other words, if you retire on $5,000 a month, if that's your number, that's just a number drawn out of the air. Nothing magical about that as I sit here and talk. But if $5,000 is that number, you're going to need more than $5,000 next year. And you're certainly going to need more than $5,000 5 years from now, because even with fairly moderate inflation or low inflation, which is obviously what the goal is, and we brought inflation back under control to a degree over the last several years, where it kind of reared its head for the first time in 40 some odd years, during the 22, in 2022, when we really, we've seen over the last 3 years, and prices have increased by 26%, right? I mean, I heard that number this morning. So, that's a sharp increase. And if you've got $5,000 and then prices have increased by 26% over the last 3 to 4 years, then, you need considerably more than $5,000. You need to be in that $7,000 range, right? If you do the arithmetic on that, how do you hedge for inflation? Does Social Security help you hedge for that inflation, et cetera? So again, it is a one size fits one. And what you want to make sure of is that you do not run out of money before you die. You want to optimize your retirement plan. And so when you plug it in, and we can look at it, I mean, it is living color. I mean, we can bring it to life with that retirement GPS system that I'm describing. I mean, I can emphasize how powerful a tool it is, and if used correctly. In other words, if we have the right information to put into it, we've got a very, very beautiful look. You can I always say, you can see it, you can feel it, you can experience retirement to a degree. If we could bring in beach smells and mountain smells and various things into the conference, and we were showing that you can do that, and you can build in retirement budgets. I mean, you can do not retirement, travel budgets into that plan. But Social Security is in many, or maybe most, at least in my clients' experiences, Social Security is an intricate part of a financial plan, of a financial retirement plan. It's intricate. I mean, it's not insignificant. It's not trivial, as sometimes you'll hear it, I think, kind of, cavalierly talked about in the, on the various, financial, broadcasts, because they were talking to a lot of really, really high net worth individuals where their incomes are, very, very high. And so Social Security might be an insignificant amount of them. But I can tell you that the clients that I work with on a regular basis, Social Security is a critically important part of most, if not all, of my retired clients' financial plan.
Wow. Wow. Well, what are some common mistakes that people do when they're claiming benefits? Are there any?
I think, they go by rules of thumb, or they go with what someone else that they know, suggested. Well, this is what I did, and and they have some cachet with that person as far as their, in their financial acumen, let's say, right? You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So they talk to some, friend, a relative, that kind of thing. And so kind of, take that advice and kind of hold on to that. And we create our biases based on those things. So, and that might mean never take it early, or that might mean take it early. Some of the mistakes that you'll hear, and maybe they don't need this, is that I don't know this is a mistake necessarily, but a lot of people that I sit in this room with when they're thinking about, starting to draw that Social Security, is there's the fear, and validly so, because it's talked about quite a bit, of the Social Security system going broke, right? I mean, we hear that with some regularity nowadays. The Social Security system is going to be broken, 2035, or now it's shortened to 2033, or wherever. That's kind of a moving, bouncing target right there. And so when people hear that part of it, they think, well, it's not going to be around for me. And that doesn't really, Social Security system is not going to go broke because it doesn't have any money in it now, really. This is where, say, Al Gore, if you remember Al Gore's debates with George Bush back in the 2000 election, going all the way back 25 years ago, he talked about the Social Security lockbox was full of IOUs, and so what he meant by that was the Social Security system is a pay-as-you-go system. It hasn't always been that way, but it is a pay-as-you-go. So there's no money set aside in the Social Security system. Again, it's pay-as-you-go, and as long as there's enough workers in the workplace paying into the Social Security system, and that number, that income that, or that those taxes, that Social Security taxes coming in, is higher than those that are drawing out of the system, right? Then it's not broke. It works, right? What the projections are is that in 2035 or 2033, wherever we are now on the projection, is that there'll be more people on the Social Security payroll than there will be people on the payroll paying into the Social Security system. That's what that means. And so I don't think it's going to go broke. I mean, there's some ways, it wasn't been talked a lot about in this past or previous election because there were so many other things to talk about. But I think that's one of the mistakes. They want to draw it immediately. It's, no matter what, I'm going to start drawing at 62 because I'm afraid it's going to run out of money. Therefore, is it going to be around to pay me? And I think anybody that's drawing today is not in jeopardy. I could be wrong, right? It's an opinion. This is totally an opinion. So let me caveat that if you're, I think, at, my age and or already on drawing Social Security on the payroll, let's say, of Social Security, I don't think that's in jeopardy. I mean, could they decrease some of the benefits? I suppose they could. I don't. Man, it's such a political football. It's a hot potato. Let's say it's the third rail of politics. You don't touch Social Security system. You can hear the consternation that takes place. So anyway, I don't think I didn't mean to kind of wander off into that, but so I don't think that's the case. So I see that mistake probably made as much as anything because of their plan might suggest that they shouldn't start drawing it that early. Or people will draw and they're still working maybe part time and they don't realize that they could be penalized before they get to full retirement age if they make too much money while working and drawing Social Security. There's a penalty that comes along. You get some of that Social Security kind of penalized, taken back. And that can be quite painful, and I won't go into the depth of that. So I'll kind of pause and let you ask. But those are, I think, the mistakes that are made. Is they either have biases around it. They think the system is going to go broke, and they want to start it now, and that kind of thing. And then there's a lot of little nuances to, if you've been married before, if you're widowed. I mean, there's a lot of things around Social Security that could be quite complex, honestly. And it's really a shame because it really seems like it should be a fairly simple system to kind of figure out because it's for seniors, and seniors get a little frustrated with complicated issues, and we're not all of us stay as sharp the older we get, and a lot of times it is kind of created for widows and orphans, if you will, to a degree, and they're not necessarily versed in the financial making those types of financial decisions. So again, I would suggest that anybody out there that's thinking about these things, sit down and talk to somebody that has some experience in it. Don't take your advice at the water cooler, so to speak, or at the retirement breakfast table at Hardee's or somewhere like that. Listen to it. I mean, I'm not saying don't listen to it, but take it in as part of its information, but it's not necessarily gospel.
Very good advice, actually. Love it, Jeff. I definitely learned something here today about Social Security, which is critical to all of us, and maybe we can talk more about that in a future episode too.
Yeah,
because I think it is.
and there's some Social Security talk in the in the great big beautiful bill, right? As President Trump calls it, that they got, I guess, worked through the House committee and it is on its way, I think, to the Senate. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's on the way to the Senate, meaning that they're trying to eliminate all income tax. This bill has all income tax eliminated from Social Security, which again is a conversation to have of actually how it works now versus just eliminating it on all Social Security benefits, which would be a boon. I mean, that would be something. It'd be quite something if that gets through.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely talk more about that in future episodes. And but for now, thank you so much. Love it, and appreciate your insight, Joe.
Thank you very much, Skip. Always a pleasure to do this. I enjoy it very much.
Absolutely. Same here. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning into the Four Seasons podcast, brought to you by B&H Wealth Strategies, where your financial success is our priority. Schedule your free 20-minute consultation today by calling 423-247-1152 or by visiting bhretire.com. Take the first step toward making your financial dreams come true. Until next time, remember, every season is the right season to plan for your future. Securities and registered investment advisory services offered through Silver Oak Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. B&H Wealth Strategies and Silver Oak Securities, Inc. are not affiliated.